Welcome back to the Crypto's Key Conversation. We're going to be taking a look at Tom Emmer's tweet right here where he's talking about they sent a bipartisan letter today to the SEC chair. We're going to be taking a look at Johnny Deaton's response to that. Jeremy Hogan's kind of updating with James K. filing on the library case and its relation to the Ripple versus SC case. We're going to be taking a look at what happened with Microsoft entering Web3 with consensus, some updates on Jerome Powell and the Fed and what they did with the interest rate hikes today, some Ukraine updates, and then some more positives within the space. And then we're going to end with this Tether interview with Pomp here. So looking at CoinGecko, we're currently sitting at a $1.9 trillion market cap, currently up 3.6%. Coming out here, Bitcoin sitting at 41,156. And obviously, we just had some news from Jerome Powell and the Fed with the interest rate hike. So obviously, the market responded positively from it. Ethereum sitting at 2,768. Tether. Binance Coin sitting at 385. XRP 78 cents. Terra $89, Solana $86, Cardano 82 cents, and DOT sitting at $19. Coming over here, let's look at the top gainer. We have Aave sitting at 14%, the Sandbox sitting at 13%, and so on. So there's some gainers there. Coming over here to the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we're currently sitting at a 24. So this thing's going to update in about 2 hours. So I definitely expect this thing to be ticked up a little bit more based on the news we got from Jerome Powell and the Fed and kind of what's going on with market sentiment. But as you can see, we're up 3 points from yesterday. We're at a 21, now we're at a 24. And we know from watching these videos and being in the market, we know that extreme fear has kind of been our home for the past couple of months now. So coming over here to the topic of discussion, Tom Emmer had put up a tweet right here. He says, my office has received numerous tips from crypto and blockchain firms that SEC Chair Gary Gensler information reporting requests to the crypto community are overburdensome, don't feel particularly voluntary, and are stifling innovation. He says, this is why I sent a bipartisan letter today to SEC Chair Gary Gensler with, and he has all these representatives, regarding the SEC's crypto information and seeking process. So if you come in here, I'm just going to click in here. You can kind of pause the video and take a look at it. But this is kind of what he had sent out, and obviously those are all the members kind of signing there. But coming down here, he says, while the SEC has authority to obtain info from market participants for rulemaking purposes, it must ensure that these inquiries don't infringe on the standards established in the Paperwork Reduction Act, which limits the burden the government imposes on private businesses and citizens. Crypto startups must not be weighed down by extra jurisdictional and burdensome reporting requirements. We will ensure our regulators do not kill American innovation and opportunities. Digital Asset Investor says, hi, Representative Tom Emmer. This is all unintentional by the SEC, and it's by design. The plan has always been to get Bitcoin and Ethereum out from under securities laws and then slam the door on everything else. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. So he has this video here, so we're going to take a listen into this.
They said, look, come talk to us. So we have a case right now in front of Division of Corporation Finance. We put together a term sheet. They said, look, we don't want legal analysis, just put facts in front of us. So we went, we made a pitch. The woman who was lead at the meeting, she took me aside. She said, Nancy, we love the management team, clearly experienced. We love the product. We have a couple issues we'd like you to address. So we went back, we addressed their issues, submitted it. Then it's death by 1,000 cuts. Well, what about this? We're not happy with how long people have to hold the tokens. We're not happy about this. So we resubmitted now. And at some point, there's frustration by the entrepreneurs saying, fine, we're going to go. And I said, that's fine, but here's your risk. They know your name. They know where you live. They can refer you to enforcement. And I will tell you, one company that we're representing right now, they're in the 8th month of document production to the SEC. They're $1.5 million into this process. And the SEC, in my estimation, is probably 4 months away from no testimony yet.
So, clearly us that's been following the case, we all know that this is just the reality that we're all living in. Now you have library versus SEC and the library community going through it. Johnny Deaton had a response. He goes, this is how the SEC treats an American entrepreneur trying to disrupt big tech and this is Jeremy Kaufman from the CEO of Library, says, is offering an uncensored alternative to YouTube, which is absolutely huge. So take a listen to this, and we show this on the video or on our channel before.
Please explain that.
So first of all, the SEC conducts business the way the mafia does. They have everything on unrecorded phone calls, which is also really messed up, because I would love it to have had permission to record every conversation I had with these people, but you're not allowed to do that. What they said to us on the call, and which our lawyers, by the way, are testifying this as well. This is not me. And they basically said, we could make this very expensive for you if you don't give us what we want. And they know all the power they have. It's cost. I mean, this case has cost me well over $1 million, probably approaching $2 million in legal fees on it. I mean, it's cost me a crazy amount of money. And they know exactly what they're doing. They gave us. I mean, they sent us in one of their like a request for something, like where a part of the subpoena, they asked us for literally every piece of data we had, all of it. They asked us for every database, every field, every property, like reaching into like view histories and stuff. We were able to get, we didn't have to give that over, to be clear. But they asked us for everything.
So I mean, that's literally the reality, man. The SEC, Chair Gensler and them, I mean, they're clearly overstepping and clearly regulating by enforcement, and it's wrong. And they truly are hindering and stifling innovation. They're going to drive all of these promising technological products and businesses outside of the U.S., which isn't going to be good. I mean, they say we're already so far behind in this this crypto race. So that's super negative, man, especially with, me being a huge investor in the XRP and having, certain financial goals that I was planning on hitting based on that investment and yada, 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 all that stuff, right? Just like the rest of us in the community. It's just like, we just want a level playing field. We want the regulatory clarity that the space needs to flourish. I mean, it is what it is. I don't understand why we have to have this divide and this hatred and this suppression within this space. It's crazy. So speaking of the Library case, Jeremy Hogan is saying the Library case will conclude before the Ripple case. So he's talking about James K. Filan's tweet here where he says, below is the scheduling order in the SC versus Library case. Summary judgment motions due May 4, 2022. Trial scheduled to begin September 8th. This is an important case to follow. So he comes here and he kind of has the dates here. So Jeremy Hogan said this case would end before the Ripple versus SC case. And I wanted to bring this up because Crypto Acoustic says, any chance that could set a dangerous precedent for the Ripple case? And then Jeremy Hogan says, yes, it could. It would be a same level, different jurisdiction precedent. So only persuasive, not binding. So I'm just curious to see kind of how everything's going to roll out. I wonder even if, this Ripple versus SC case is even going to push that long, or are we going to see a settlement come before then? Is Brad Garland House's and Ripple's terms going to be met when it comes to the regulatory clarity for XRP and their, status going forward? Is that going to be met to where, the SC and them can settle? Who knows? It's kind of a waiting game. But speaking of Ripple, this was Brad Garland House had an interview. I forgot. Let me see if I can come in here and see where it was. It says, it was Watch CEO Brad Garland House discussed the latest court decision as well of his thoughts in Biden's cryptocurrency executive orders on Bloomberg. So he kind of just put up these quotes here. As Brad Garland House says, 95% of our customers are non-U.S. customers and only 5% are in the U.S. Why? Because the U.S. companies are waiting for clarity. There's so many people sitting on the sidelines waiting for clarity, and that's what we've all been begging for. He says more than 90% of the RippleNet customers are out of the United States. We are solving the cross-border payment problem, which is more of a pain for smaller countries. And then he ends here, he says, the U.S. is out of sync with the G20 markets. It's critical for Ripple to have a level playing field. There you go. There goes those words. A level playing field in order to compete on a global stage. The UK, Singapore, Japan, Switzerland, and the UAE are at the top of our list because they are providing clarity and consistency. So that's what the entire space needs. So obviously we know the whole Ethereum Free Pass with, Joe Lubin, all parties involved, the Ethereum Free Pass speech from William Hinman and, the SEC involvement. And now we're starting to see that, there's more ties, especially with JP Morgan. And now we're trying to get the 63 emails released so we can kind of see, what information is in there, which they're claiming that we may not even see that. I don't think they're going to want us to see those emails because this Ethereum Free Pass timeline that we've built together as a community, it's like we're going to be able to fit in more information and find the missing pieces, within these emails. What is the likelihood that not one person in those emails had mentioned XRP, But speaking of that, and, the competitiveness of consensus and Ethereum to, what XRP and Ripple are trying to solve, look at this. It says Microsoft dives into Web3 with investments in Ethereum co-founder startup Consensus. So in our past video, we were talking about the money they've raised. And this is Joe Lubin. He came out, gloating and bragging about the money they've made. And this has happened in 2022 while, the SEC is going after Library and Ripple and the likes of. It's crazy. It says Consensus has raised $450 million in a funding round backed by the likes of Microsoft, SoftBank, and Temasek. The investment more than doubles Consensus valuation to $7 billion. Tech giants from Microsoft to Twitter are becoming increasingly interested in Web3, a movement that calls for a more decentralized internet based on the blockchain. So this whole concept we talk about, and other crypto YouTubers, especially like the blockchain back, or excuse me, not the blockchain backer, digital asset investor, kind of talk about this monopoly that was trying to be set with this whole Ethereum scandal, this Ethereum free pass, and it's like here you go. Web3, when it comes to DeFi and, smart contracts, they're trying to have a monopoly to where everything is truly ran from Ethereum. And that's kind of the shadiness and the scandal that's been happening. How they say you're trying to, get Bitcoin and Ethereum out from under securities laws and slam the door on the rest of the crypto market. That's kind of what's going to happen. That's kind of, the picture that's been painted with this whole monopoly that they've been trying to create. But, with that being said, I'm not a hater of Ethereum. I invest in Ethereum. I want them to be successful, but I would definitely want there to be a level playing field, and the scandal has to be exposed for what it is. So now some updates on the markets. According to CNBC, it says the Federal Reserve approves first interest rate hike in more than 3 years, sees 6 more ahead. So the Fed approved a 0.25, so 25 basis percentage points hike. This first increase since December 2018. Officials indicated an aggressive path forward with rate rises coming each of the remaining 6 meetings in 2022. So if they raise them, 25 basis points each time, obviously we're going to be, pushing the 1 point something level in interest rate. So members also part expectations for economic growth this year and are sharply raised their outlook for inflation. So obviously Jerome Powell and the Fed, and this was priced into the market. Everyone kind of had some sort of understanding, like this is what we anticipated. So obviously we saw some positivity in the market, but 25 basis point for the first meeting, we have 6 to 7 more meetings. It's like, okay, if they raise it 25% more, obviously we're going to be, pushing closer to that 2%. Now going into 2023, if they have 3+ more interest rate hikes, it's going to push us further into that scale, kind of creating a new interest rate hike, over the past few years. So we got to, make sure that we stay up to date and kind of what's going on. Obviously, inflation is going rampant, and this is kind of their way and their form of trying to combat that, which affects all our markets. So it's good to know this information. So coming over here, it says Ukraine's president signs law establishing regulatory framework for crypto, which is huge. The country's National Securities and Stock Market Commission will determine policies on digital assets, issue licenses to crypto firms, and act as a financial watchdog. This is absolutely huge, man. This is kind of where we need to start, gravitating towards. I'm curious to see what this Biden executive order on crypto is going to turn into. Right here, some positive from Blockworks. Miami and NYC mayors will continue to receive their paychecks in Bitcoin. Okay, that's awesome. Right here, just in HSBC 3 trillion under assets, the first major bank to enter the sandbox metaverse. So that's huge. Obviously, we talked about how massive the metaverse is, and NFTs and crypto gaming, and just how massive that user base is, and it's super early into that technology and that space within, that sector within the crypto space. So there's so much happening, and all these major corporations, these major businesses and major influencers and people out in the industry, they're seeing the writing on the wall when it comes to the metaverse and the crypto space. So I wanted to end on this, and I'm not going to play the full thing. You can come into Pomp's tweet right here and see the full thing if you like. But right here it says, I asked Tether CTO if Tether was fully backed to buy US dollars. Here was his answer. So I'm just going to play the beginning here.
But Tether, the big question everyone wants to know is it backed 1-to-1 to dollars? And I'll ask it that way in terms of, I think there's a bunch of different ways you could answer, but that's what everyone wants to know is, can I have confidence if I hold Tether that it's actually backed 1-to-1 to dollars? How do you respond?
So the answer is definitely yes.
So that's literally all I'm going to play. You can go in and listen to it yourself. But I'm curious to know, like, what do you think? Do you think it truly is backed 1-to-1? I mean, obviously, with the audits, I don't think there was been a massive audit that's been exposed to the entire industry. I don't know if that's happened yet. But, I'm curious to know, is it truly back to 1-to-1? I know this has been a big talk of the town for years. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Obviously, there's a lot going on. This was a longer video. But, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of positivity that's happened, which is huge. If I come over here, if I reset this, see if we've increased at all. So Bitcoin sitting at 41,103, currently up. Yep, we're still at 3.8%. So obviously there's some positivity. We're still in the extreme fear range. Only time will tell where this market's going to go. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.